No matter you are a scientist or engineer, more often than not, our daily activities involve repetitive and routine tasks. For example, the data that you obtained might be from simulations, and the simulated data are often similar in format, and you might need to load this kind of similar data into your program again and again. So it would be nice if Excel or the other programs that we looked at could help us carrying out or performing this kind of repetitive. We all know if we want someone else to carry out some task for us, we need to give them clear instructions. And similarly, in this case, we actually want our computers to carry out certain tasks for us or perform some calculations for us. We also need to give computer clear instructions. And these clear instructions are often called a program. Specific to Excel, these instructions are stored inside modules, and that modules are part of the spreadsheets. Bear in mind, modules are quite different to functions. The functions we've looked at so far, they are returning values into a particular cell location or a cell range, but they don't normally have a global impact on the entire worksheets. Macros, on the other hand, they could affect any cell value depending on how you program it, and it can automatically change the format of cells and changing the formats of your graphs and even drawing graphs, generating graphs on the fly. At this early stage of introducing you to the concept of programming, we'll be sticking to very simple macros. But bear in mind, macros can get quite complex. A whole application can be developed using macros. And that macro is written in a language called Microsoft's Visual Basic. We won't be particularly teaching Visual Basic as a language, but it's fairly straightforward to learn for simple tasks. So if you have the time, you probably can look into it and try to learn it in your spare time. In order to record a macro, we need to turn on the developer ribbon. And the developer ribbon is invisible by default. So we'll need to click on File and select Option and Customize Ribbon. And you can see that we can tick the developer ribbon and then click on OK. So the developer ribbon is showing there, and you click into it and you can start a macro. Start recording this macro, and we need to give the macro a name. So let's just call it load data, and we can give it a shortcut key. So just try to think of any letter that's not a popular shortcut key. So I wouldn't use Control-C or Control-V, but if you did use something that in conflict with the Windows shortcut key, then you might override the shortcut of copying in Windows. So it's better if we steer ourselves away from popular existing hotkeys. So click on OK. Okay, so the name I entered is not valid. It could be this hyphen in there. Normally with identifier names, file names is fine, but this macro name is used as a function name. So most function names would allow for underscore but not hyphen. Click on OK, so this time it's OK. The record macro button now turned into stop recording. So everything I'm doing right now, I recorded into the macro. What I was trying to show you is how to load data into a Excel workbook. So let's click on the data ribbon, and it shows you that your data might come from different places. It could come from an Access database, could come from the web, could come from text files. Text files are one of the most popular locations. So we kept something in text files. Very often you would write your simulation in a different programming language, and then that program will generate text file, and the text file gets loaded into your Excel through this importing facility. So let's click on desktop. I've got some data file downloaded from the web of Bureau of Meteorology. That's about the rainfall in Subiaco since 1967, I think. So let's click on import. That brings up the text import wizard. That first step allows you to select whether your columns are separated by certain characters or whether your columns are separated by fixed width or indicated by fixed width. In our case, our columns are separated by comma. That's why I'm selecting delimited. And it also allows you to specify where you want your import to start, which row you want your import to start. I think the row for 2013 starts from 1648. So I'm just putting that in. And then click on next gets you to the second step, which allows you to specify the delimiter or the character that separates your columns. So our separator is a comma, not semicolon. So as soon as you selected the red character, Excel can separate your column very nicely into separate columns. And then you can click on next to go to the final step. The final step allows you to select the data type. What we're having now is general, and general is kind of like an automatic shortcut because it converts numerical data directly into numbers, dates into date type, and then the rest into text. And that's what we want as well. That's pretty good already. So we just click on finish. And the final small window asks you whether you want your imported data to be in a separate new worksheet or in the existing worksheets. I want it to be in the existing worksheet, so I click on OK. Now that I've got my data, I can now do some interesting visualization with plotting. So I can insert a new column, and I know CDE are basically year, month followed by day. I want to join the day with the month and the year into a string so that I can have nice labels with my plotting. So I'm copying this formula in just so I don't have to type anymore. As you can see, I use ampersand to join characters together, concatenate characters together. Okay, so I had the whole thing, and I need to make sure that they are text. So then I can select both column F and G, and I can plot a scatter plot or a line graph, because this is temporal data that we do have a continuous x-axis, and then you can see the spike is around May, so the largest rainfall in Subiaco. So I'm all happy now. I'm trying to stop the recording, so let's go to developer and stop recording. Remember that we have the Control R hotkey, so I can click on any empty sheets. I can just click on Control R. I'll be able to repeat what I've done on the first worksheet just by clicking Control R. And that's how powerful this recording micro facility is. Okay, so you get identical worksheets, and then in order for you to load different worksheets, you can actually view the code and modify the module so that your module could take in different files. As you can see that there's a file path, a file name here that goes all the way from desktop to the actual file name. So you can change the file name that will load a different data and plot in the different data for you. So don't worry about the rest of it. If you think that they are quite difficult to understand, but they are just computer understandable instructions. So for example, selecting the whole column and then do an insertion, and then you have some autofill to fill the formula, and then also you could add a chart. So that's all quite self-explanatory. So if we move back, this small example basically opened up a window which contains active spreadsheets, and then it selected a range and then copied the range, at the same time closed this active window. So the copying is copying to the clipboard. So once that's done, we make another spreadsheet active, and then we selected the first cell, and then we paste the new data in. So essentially a program of copying and pasting into a spreadsheet is as simple as this. It's quite possible for some new starters to write some useful, simple macros. So just use this as an introduction to the flavor of programming, what programming can do for you. And then from Visual Basic, we'll move on into programming languages such as MATLAB.